Let's say you woke up tomorrow and you realize that your world looks exactly like the books you once dismissed as some dystopian fiction. Cameras in every street corner, not just watching you, but predicting what you'll do next. Algorithms predicting your very thought, mood, and even your friendships. Pills designed not to cure disease, but to eliminate discomfort, anxiety, and even grief itself. And the strangest part? People seem okay with it. Some are even cheering it on. Welcome to the uncomfortable territory of George Orwell and Aldous Huxley, two writers from the 20th century who are suddenly more relevant in the 21st century than ever before. But here's the catch. Orwell warned us about oppression through fear, while Huxley warned us about control through pleasure. Two visions of domination, one by the boot on your neck, the other by the candy in your mouth. And the question we face today is terrifying. Which world are we actually living in? Or worse, are we living in both? But first, like and subscribe so you get more of our content, and let's jump in. George Orwell's 1984 isn't just a book you were forced to read in high school. It's a manual for understanding authoritarianism. Orwell's vision was one of constant surveillance, manipulation of truth, and punishment for stepping out of line. Does that sound familiar? Think about China's social credit system, for example. No, not this China, we'll come back to this later. Yes, this China. They have facial recognition, cameras track citizens' movements and behaviors. If you step out of line, buy too much alcohol, criticize the government online, then suddenly you can't get a train ticket. That's Orwell, chapter and verse. But let's not just point fingers at foreign governments. Look closer to home. In the United States, in the aftermath of 9/11, mass surveillance programs ballooned under the justification of national security. Edward Snowden revealed that Western governments were essentially spying on their own citizens, recording calls, texts, and internet activity. Orwell predicted this in 1984, the idea that Big Brother is watching you. Only today, it's just not Big Brother, it's also Big Tech. Your smartphone is probably more effective at tracking you than any other secret police force could have dreamed of. Orwell's nightmare was about fear. People obeyed not because they wanted to, but because they were terrified of what would happen if they didn't. And that fear of being cancelled, deplatformed, fired, or even imprisoned still drives how people act and speak today. And last week, England just introduced a mandatory digital ID system that they say, quote, will combat illegal working. But of course, that sparked controversy over privacy concerns, the potential for data to be compromised, and there's always that little chance the system can be used in the future as a social credit system with a Western facade to it this time.
Now let's contrast that with Aldous Huxley. His Brave New World paints a very different picture. In Huxley's dystopia, there's no need for jackbooted soldiers dragging people off to torture chambers. Instead, people are pacified through entertainment, consumerism, and a wonder drug called soma that erases unhappiness with a single swallow. Control isn't achieved through pain, but through pleasure. Scroll through TikTok for an hour, or maybe 5 if you lose track of time, and ask yourself, do we really need government oppression when we're already glued to endless dopamine machines? Huxley argued that the danger wasn't censorship, but distraction, that we would drown in irrelevant, meaningless pleasures while forgetting to care about freedom at all. And isn't that exactly what's happening now? Instead of revolting against inequality, constant wars, or creeping authoritarianism, millions of people are more concerned with celebrity scandals, Instagram filters, and whatever Netflix series just dropped. Even debates around mental health awareness often end with suggestions like, take this pill, scroll less, and you'll be fine. A very Huxleyan approach to systemic problems. The irony? People willingly give up their autonomy because it feels good. No one forces us to binge watch, swipe endlessly, or self-medicate. We choose it, and that's why Huxley's vision is so terrifying. It requires no dictator, just our own desire for comfort. The fascinating thing about today's world is that Orwell and Huxley aren't competing. They're tag-teaming. Governments and corporations don't just use fear to control us, they also use pleasure. Think of how news cycles work. First, You get bombarded with fear-driven headlines: terrorism, pandemics, economic collapse. Once your adrenaline spikes, you're offered a distraction. The latest viral video, a new consumer product, or some celebrity gossip. You're whipped between anxiety and dopamine like a lab rat in an experiment. Take the pandemic as a case study. Governments enforced strict rules, surveillance apps, and vaccine passports, Orwell's world. While streaming platforms, delivery apps, and TikTok skyrocketed in popularity, Huxley's world. You were locked inside, but hey, at least you had Tiger King. Fear kept you in line. Pleasure kept you complacent. Orwell and Huxley working together from the grave. One of Orwell's most disturbing predictions was the manipulation of truth. In 1984, history is constantly rewritten, facts are erased, and language itself is weaponized through newspeak. Today we call that fake news and misinformation. But here's the twist. Unlike Orwell's world, where the government controls all information, our digital landscape is fragmented. Thousands of competing voices spread conflicting truths, and people self-select the reality that feels most comfortable. This is where Huxley sneaks back in. Orwell feared censorship, but Huxley feared trivialization. It's not that the truth is hidden, it's that it's drowned in noise. Algorithms push outrage, entertainment, and clickbait, burying important issues under endless distraction. Remember when Facebook was accused of spreading disinformation during elections? Or when Twitter, X, was criticized for amplifying conspiracy theories? That's the digital chaos of Orwell's propaganda fused with Huxley's carnival of distraction. And here's the controversial part. Many of us prefer it this way. Why? Because facing the raw, ugly truth, corruption, inequality, exploitation, would demand action. And action is uncomfortable. So we take the blue pill, swallow the soma, and scroll on. So why are Orwell and Huxley so popular today, especially among younger audiences? Simple. Because young people feel trapped in a system that already looks like a dystopia. Housing is unaffordable, jobs are precarious, and politics feels like theater, when reality feels more absurd than fiction. Books like 1984 and Brave New World don't just feel relevant, they feel prophetic. But there's another reason. Memes. Yes, memes. Orwell and Huxley have become cultural shorthand for our collective anxieties. A headline about mass surveillance gets shared with a picture of Big Brother. A new social media addiction trend. Someone drops a Huxley quote. Their names have become part of internet culture, making them accessible even to people who never cracked open their books. And maybe that's the biggest irony. Orwell and Huxley, who warned us about shallow entertainment, are now popular because they're memeable. But hey, at least they're being read, or at least quoted. So here we are, in 2025, caught in the jaws of two dead men's nightmares. Orwell warned us of control through fear, and Huxley warned us of control through pleasure. And somehow, we've landed in both worlds at once. Governments, corporations, algorithms, they don't need to choose. They can frighten us into obedience one day and lull us into complacency the next. Fear when it's useful, pleasure when it's easier. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Neither Orwell nor Huxley predicted one crucial factor. You, the individual. Whether you become a passive consumer, distracted and docile, or a paranoid citizen, terrified into silence, is partly up to you. These writers didn't just warn us, they challenged us. Orwell asked, "Will you resist when fear is used to control you?" Huxley asked, "Will you resist when pleasure is used to pacify you?" So maybe the real reason they're popular today isn't just because they were right. It's because they're asking us questions we still haven't answered. And until we do, their books won't just be relevant, they'll be urgent. If this gave you something to think about, consider liking and subscribing. Not because Big Brother told you to, but because it helps this channel grow and gets these conversations to more people who need them. And as always, thanks for watching.